All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you for joining us. And in case you aren't aware of where you are or why you're here tonight, this is the Maryland Excels Setting Goals for Higher Quality Training. My name is Lauren Yabui, and I am your facilitator for this evening. I used to be a quality assurance coordinator. Now I'm a program quality improvement coordinator for Maryland Excels, and I support Montgomery, Prince George's, Calvert, St. Mary, and Charles counties. My colleague, Vicki DeSanto, is the moderator for tonight. I'm going to let her share a little bit about herself with you.
Hi, many of you know me. I used to be a quality assurance specialist, then a quality assurance coordinator, and now I'm a program quality improvement coordinator, and I support Hartford, Cecil, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel, and all of the Eastern Shore. And I will mute myself and turn off my camera because I'm going to be sharing the PowerPoint.
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Vicki. Just a few housekeeping rules. Everyone should have a video enabled camera, even if for some device, some reason the camera's not working at this moment, as long as you are signed into something. We love to see your faces. So if you want to come on camera, I'd love to see the people I'm talking to instead of letters on the screen. But as long as you are available to listen in, chime in, etc., that's fine. Please note that we really want this to be an engaging training tonight. I like to talk, and so does Vicki, but we don't want to talk to each other. We want to hear from you. So we encourage you to come off mute, to respond to questions, or to put your thoughts and ideas in the chat. Toward the middle of this training, there's going to be an activity that we're going to ask you to participate in, and I'll let you know in advance that we're going to call on individuals and ask you to share what you've written. So it's really important that you pay attention, take notes, so that you're prepared to work on that project. Okay? And one last time, in the chat is the sign-in sheet for anybody who may not have had a chance to sign in. And I know that somebody, I think that was Laura, who asked about how to change your name. If we have time at the end, we can try to walk you through that, but that's not necessary for tonight. Okay? So again, this is setting goals for higher quality. All right, next slide, please, Miss Vicki. Oh, wait, I forgot to share. I mean, you can go to the next slide, but in order to get credit for this training, you have to be here, you have to sign in, and you will be asked to do an assessment and an evaluation. The assessment and successfully passing the assessment is also a requirement for this training. We encourage you to complete the evaluation. It helps us know what we've done well and what we might need to do differently. So please give us some honest feedback about your experience with us this evening. All right, so this is an overview of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do some introductions, which we've started. We're going to talk about the types of goals that exist. We're going to spend a lot of time on SMART goals. Then we'll spend some time on program improvement plans, creating them and kind of doing an overview of them. And then we'll wrap things up and take questions. Okay? At any point, please don't hesitate to chime in, raise your hand, come off mute to ask us any questions you may have. All right. First, we're going to do a brief overview of Maryland Excels. Can you all tell me either in the chat, raise your hand, thumbs up, if you are already a part of Maryland Excels? All right, good. And I know that's true of all of you. I have to make sure you're paying attention too, because you wouldn't be able to participate in this if you were not participants in Maryland Excel. So we're very happy that you're here and happy that you are participating in this program that shows a level of quality that you have for the program you run. Next slide, please, Ms. Vicki. All righty. I'm going to briefly go over the objectives for this evening. First, we're going to define what a goal is and why goals are important, why they matter. We're going to talk about the types of goals that are relevant to you as early childhood professionals. We're going to demonstrate your understanding of how to create a SMART goal, and that's that activity I told you about, because we'll define SMART, and then we're going to ask you to create some SMART goals. We'll also determine the ways to assess and modify goals once you've set them. Okay? Next slide, please. All right, so you told me that you're part of Maryland Excels. Do we have any quality rating 1 programs? Can you raise your hand or put your number in the chat? What quality rating you are? All right, we have some people who are level 1s. Fabulous. Any level 2s? Okay, I see a level 5. Any 2s, 3s, or 4s? All right, 3. All right, so we have every level represented except level 2. All right, that's good to know. We have a variety. And at each of those levels, it is important to create goals. So this is going to matter for all of you. Right. So as you know, Maryland Excels is a quality rating and improvement system for early childhood programs in the state of Maryland. And in order to be a participant, you need to meet certain standards. So we are recognizing programs as high quality experience, as providing high quality experiences for children based on these quality ratings. We encourage programs to increase the level of quality they provide, and we give you, through Maryland Excels, a pathway to do so. Most of you have probably worked with a quality assurance specialist as you've navigated the system, and everything we ask you to do as part of this process is to improve and maintain a level of quality for the children in your care. We also provide information to parents about quality program and how to find quality programs in their area. There's also some other benefits to Maryland Excels, to include financial rewards. I'm sure some of you are aware of the bonuses that we offer. There's also a roadmap of growth. So we tell you, if you're level 1, we help show you how you can get to level 2, 3, 4, and ultimately level 5. We consider ourselves to be a support system for you. We're here for you to answer questions, to provide you with resources, etc., on the system. And again, you probably have a relationship with a quality assurance specialist in your area to help you do that. There's also promotional tools. Not sure if everybody is aware, but there are certain discounts through companies like Kaplan, etc., that you can get as a member, as a participant in Maryland Excels. So you can always go to the Maryland Excels website and look into those things if you're not aware of what they are. Okay, I see 2 people with hands up, and hands up. I want to make sure that they're just up from before, or do you have questions? Okay, I think that means they're just up from before, which is fine.
I was going to say, I think
right.
my hand was up because you asked if we were
Yes.
Excel.
Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. I often forget to lower my hand.
All right, I put down my hand.
No problem at all. So part of a quality program is what we consider to be continuous quality improvement, or CQI. And what that means is assessing your program to look at areas where improvement is needed. We can all grow and improve along the way. And once you've assessed and you've come up with ways to improve, you want to communicate those. You may communicate that with your quality assurance specialists and say, hey, I've done what's needed to get to a level 2, and have them help you with that process. You may communicate with your families as you add improvement opportunities, et cetera, to your program. You're going to let them know. And you see that this is a circle, and these arrows go round and round. It's cyclical, because you may get better, but you can always assess and do things differently. Things in the world of early childhood change, and sometimes you want to add to your program. You may take something away. You may make something a little better. So it truly is a continuous process. Next slide, please. Ms. Bhavna, I can't send you the study material right now because I'm in the middle of the training. I can do it during the break when you're working on a project, but that might be too late, but I can do it for you then. I just didn't want you to think I was ignoring your question. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit now about types of goals. All right, so can anybody tell me what the word goal means? What is a goal? Don't everybody speak at once.
To achieve something.
Okay, it is an action to achieve something. Yes,
Something measurable.
it is something measurable. You're getting into the smart part. Yes, absolutely.
Something to work towards.
Something to work toward. Absolutely. Any other thoughts? Okay, so what a goal is I believe there's the next slide. Okay, there it is. The end toward which effort is directed, the aim. So this is the Merriam-Webster's definition of what a goal is. So a goal is something that we're trying to achieve, something that it's the end toward which effort is directed. All right, so that actually means what you all said. Something you're measuring, something you're trying to achieve. It's an objective or a target that you're trying to reach, something you want to do or accomplish. It's always based on the future because you're talking about something that's going to happen or that you want to see happen versus something that you've already achieved. And that goes into that quality, the continuous quality, because once you've reached a goal, you set another goal because there's always something we can aim toward. It's set by you as an individual, perhaps, but it can also be set by a group of people. You may ask your families, the families in your program, about some goals for the program. If you have staff, you may ask staff what goals they have. So they can be set by you as an individual, or they can be set by a group of people. Next slide, please. So why are goals important? Why do they even matter? I'm going to let you all answer that before I do. And again, you can come off mute or you can put it in the chat.
A sense of achievement.
Okay, good. That's a good one. You get a sense of achievement when you've reached a goal successfully. Anybody else? Keep you moving forward. Yes, when you have a goal, you have something to achieve. It's to, I also see, to track progress and improvement. Yes, as when you set a goal, you can see your progress because you're tracking something. You're keeping tabs on something.
Without a goal, it's a wish.
Say that again, Jacqueline.
Without a goal, it's just a wish.
Oh, I like that. Without a goal, it's just a wish. You're
Well,
absolutely right.
For me, I
Rose
would
likes
say,
that too.
I got to give credit to my mom. She's listening.
Okay, thank you, Mom. Miss Brenda.
for me, I would say it's a motivating factor because it keeps you on target when you want to give up. You look at what's there. Well, I like to and change that word with like vision, because like I say, as long as whenever I feel like, oh, I can't do it, I look at what the end result will be.
Right. Okay, very good. Like you got a heart on that one too. These are really good responses. I'm a little more motivated by this as well. So you all have really defined why goals are important, why they matter, and let's talk about the benefit of them. I think you've pretty much answered that. When you set a goal, you can tell that you've achieved something. They are beneficial to help you stay motivated. They help you stay on track. So these are some of the main reasons that they're important, that they matter, and why you should even set them. All right, so now we're going to segue into why goals are the types of goals that you have in early childhood. Now we're going to go over 6 main areas, but please know that, of course, those aren't the only ones. We just talk about this main 6. You may have others that you'd like to focus on. And yes, I see all these comments in the chat. Thank you for all of them. All right, we set goals for children. So each of you provide quality care for children, so you are probably doing some kind of formal or informal developmental assessment. And so goals associated with children are based on the individual needs of children in your care. It might be that you have an infant that you're trying to encourage to sit up. It may be a preschooler that you're working on some particular developmental skill with. So those are the goals associated with children. We also have financial goals. All of you either run your own business or work for a business. There is an aspect of early childhood education that is business related. So it's important to look at these financial goals. Those are all related to money, whether it's creating a budget, saving money to buy certain pieces of equipment. And I apologize, I should have said this in the beginning. I have a dog and a toddler. So I'm trying to, I don't know if you can hear them, but I can hear the dog. So, oh, good. My apologies if you hear either of them. All right. So those are the kinds of financial goals that you might have for your program. You also have performance goals. Performance goals focus on how people do their job, where they're doing things well, and where they need to improve. We're all great at what we do. I know we're all confident, but we can all do certain things better. So performance goals are going to be related to the job. Now, if you are a family provider and you are the sole educator, your performance goals are going to be goals you set for yourself. If circle time is not your thing and you're not great at it, you might set a goal to learn more about how to manage a quality circle time. You may ask families about your program and ask them if there's some things that they think you could do better or differently. If you're at a center and you're a director or a teacher, you may get a performance review by somebody else in the organization. And this is where they give you feedback about how you've done in the job. Our main focus this evening is going to be on the last three goals in early childhood. The first one is professional development. These are goals that you set to enhance your own skills. So again, if there's something you want to learn more about, if you want to learn more about curriculum development, etc., you're going to set a professional goal. If your first aid and CPR has expired or you don't have first aid and CPR training, that is a professional goal. Okay. In addition to professional development, we have a goal for Maryland Excels. You are a part of Maryland Excels. We're very happy that you're a part of Maryland Excels, but we want you to look at what else can you do within our system. You're doing one of those things tonight. You're participating voluntarily in a Maryland Excels training. Okay, you may also get some of the additional achievement badges. Have you heard of those? Okay, I see, for those on camera, I see some heads nodding, so you can get some of the additional achievements. You can also, Rose, you're great with these emoticons. Thank you. And Miss Jacqueline, yes, so there are several different additional achievement badges out there that are accessible to you. In addition, we love when programs move up in the quality rating. So if you're one, we're here to help you set a goal to get to a level 2. If you're a level 5, there may still be a goal, and that goal would be to maintain your level. And Miss Jacqueline, you would like to hear more about the additional achievements?
Yes, because I have the accreditation badge. And I know there was like a huge push for like, I'm blanking on the badges. I'm kind
It's
of
okay. It's okay.
But I just don't know how to achieve those. So
okay, well, I'm going to make a note in what I call the parking lot.
perfect.
If we have time at the end of this training, we can go over it. If not, we can give you some information so you can maybe talk with your quality assurance specialist about it.
Perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I made a note. And if anybody else has something about, so like I see, I'm going to say Church Lane, but I think it was maybe Azamiah. And
Yes, that's no, you're okay. Azemia. My name is Azemia.
Azemia.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
just my this is my work email. So yeah.
Okay, no problem. I see.
Yeah, I've been trying to get to level 2, and part of it
Okay.
is because I kept forgetting to do it also.
Okay.
But I think the biggest issue I run into is that it's saying that I need to have the staff and a lead person, but I really only have me, and I do have another person now, but she doesn't have all her credentials. She's kind of like an aide. So
Okay,
she's
I'm gonna
great to get those things.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat as well. Excuse me, not the chat, in my parking lot. So if we get to it,
Okay.
we'll help you. If not, we'll put you in touch with somebody who can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem at all. All right, so those are some Maryland Excel's goals. And then also another goal is accreditation. Some of you may already be accredited, which is great. If you're not, you've probably heard of accreditation. And the goal here would be to get started on that process. And you get started by submitting your application. If you are already accredited, then the goal is to maintain your accreditation. And that's two different ways. You can renew it during that process, the however often you're supposed to renew it based on the type of accreditation you have. So you keep it renewed, and you also maintain quality programming so that your accreditation remains valid. Okay, so that you don't lose your accreditation. So again, those are 6 different types of early childhood goals. You may have more that you're thinking of out there, but that's some of the main ones. Okay. And next slide, Miss Vicki. All right. Our professional development goals, a little more of that about those. These are goals that you set for yourself, like we said earlier, or for staff if you have them. And these goals are often based on things like licensing. All of you are licensed programs in the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland Office of Child Care has certain requirements of you, whether it's training, equipment, etc., in your program. So you may need to set annual, quarterly, etc., goals based on this. I always talk about the training piece. You have to have a certain number of trainings per year. It's best to set a goal to get those trainings over the course of that annual time period versus, oh no, it's time for me to get my license renewed and have my annual visit, and I've got to get these X number of hours in, and I've got 3 weeks to do it. So again, if you set goals along the way, then you'll always be ahead of the game. Okay. There's a saying that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So this way you can stay ready. All right. Another professional goal is a degree or a certification. That's through coursework, etc. So you may set a goal to get a CDA, to get an associate's degree, whatever that might be. Also, like we said before, the performance evaluations will help you. This is much more common in child development centers than it is with family providers, but here you're going to look at what are your strengths? Where do you need to improve? Maybe there's something related to children in your care. If you have some children who have some identified special needs and you don't know much about those needs, you may take a course or 2 or get some kind of certification so that you can support those children better in your program. Okay, and then also class observations. If you've had a class visit, then you know, or preparing for one, class comes in and that observation helps to look at teacher-child interactions and how, so you may want to take a training on how you cultivate relationships with children on a daily basis for class. And all of these goals can be short-term or long-term. If your goal is to get first aid and CPR certified, that's a relatively short-term goal because you can find a class pretty quickly and take it. If you're working toward a degree, that's not something that's going to happen overnight. That's going to be a long-term goal. Okay, so next slide, please. All right, accreditation goals. Again, we talked briefly about this, but when you're looking at accreditation, you have to first look at initial accreditation. And accreditation, no matter what organization you do it through, does cost money. And many of you may already be familiar with the Accreditation Support Fund. If you're not, we can share some information about that at the end. Okay, I saw I don't read lips well, but I saw please do, Miss Brenda. Okay, so we'll share some information. Vicki and I can gather some things during the homework session of tonight. So once you've started the initial accreditation and you are accredited, there are follow-up goals. When the assessors come and visit, they're going to give you some feedback on what went really well, but also on some areas where your program could continue to improve. So you're going to have some goals to work on for that. And again, once you are accredited, you have to maintain your accreditation. And as requirements change, you may have to update some things within your accreditation. All right. Next slide, please. Does anybody have, before we move on to how you develop goals, does anybody have any questions about these types of goals we've already talked about? All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how you develop goals. Goals should be intentional. You don't just one day wake up and there's a goal staring you in the face. You have had to make some decisions, taken some action, given some thought to what goals you're going to establish for your program. Okay, it's an intentional process. It to some extent involves individualization. The goals for Miss Gale's program are going to be different for the goals from Miss Pamela's program because these are two different programs. So it's going to be individually based. But again, you may have some group goals. If you have staff, there may be something a goal that they want you to work on. If you have relationships with the parents in your program, family provider or center, they may share some feedback during conferences, etc. Or if you do a survey and okay, I see your message. You may get feedback from them on some goals to set for your program. Also, goals may be based on regulation requirements. Again, the state of Maryland Office of Child Care has some requirements for you. It's important that you meet those requirements. So setting goals, it might be a good idea to establish some goals associated with licensing. There are going to be goals associated with Maryland Excels. No matter what level, you have to republish annually. So you may need to set some goals, even if it's to remember to republish. You may set a goal to move up. Okay. And then another way to develop goals is through the SMART acronym. And that's where we're going to spend the bulk of our time this evening on how to set SMART goals and what that really means. So let's move on to the next slide and talk about what SMART goals are. And we're going to talk first about the acronym for SMART. So we're going to use SMART goals to assess your program. Here's where you might want to take some notes. Remember, I said we're going to take a little break and you're going to have an assignment. It's not a homework assignment, like I said, for after this. It's for right now. So make sure you're paying attention here. Okay, we can move to the next slide, please, Ms. Vicki. All right. So what does SMART stand for? It is SMART. Let's see if the S will show up here. There we go. Okay. So SMART goals are these things. Now, if you got the document that we sent, this information is in that document, so you don't necessarily have to write every detail, but you might want to take some notes as we go along. Okay, I keep seeing you going in and out, Miss Shia or Chaya. That's okay. Thank you for trying to stay with us. So by the time we're done with this, you'll be able to, this is a little cheat moment here. You'll be able to set goals for your PIP. Has everybody heard of a PIP? If you're in Maryland Excels, you've probably seen it, even if you're not at that level. It's a program improvement plan. All right. One of our main goals tonight is to help you learn some techniques and tips to develop goals for your PIP. And the SMART technique is going to help you set goals that are achievable. All right. So the S is for specific. This is to help you plan effectively with specific targets in mind. If you set a goal that's too broad, you don't even really know where you're going or how to focus. And I like to suggest that you use the trick of 4 of the 5 W's. Who's involved in you achieving this goal? Who do you need to work with? Is it just you? Is it the accreditation fund? Who else is going to be part of the goal with you? It may be the children, it may be the families. What do you need to accomplish? What are you trying to achieve? That's the what in your specific. When are you going to start working on this goal, and when do you want to complete it? Is it a short-term goal or a long-term goal? And why does this goal matter? We don't do very many things in life without a why. So why does this specific goal even matter? Is it something you're doing because it's a requirement? Is it something you're doing because I think it was Miss Jacqueline who said it was a wish? You want to turn this wish into a goal. And so that's the why behind it. But knowing the why can also keep you motivated. So you're going to use this when it comes to establishing SMART goals. Now, I'm going to give you an example. We're going to develop a SMART goal right now. Okay. So let's start with a goal of I want to get healthier. That sounds like a nice goal, but is it a SMART goal? Okay, can somebody come off mute or in the chat and tell me why it's not a SMART goal? Or why it's not specific?
Maybe you need to say, I need to drink something like 60 ounces of water in a
Okay,
day instead of
right, because it's
healthy
broad.
is very broad.
Right, okay, thank you, Miss Gail. Miss Brenda?
It's not like I say, it's not very broad, it's not specific enough. So
Okay.
if you're saying you want to get healthy, you may want to start off with saying, I want to lose 15 pounds.
Okay.
And so then what am I going to do to lead up to that 15 pounds? What am I going to do? And then break it down. Like what I like to do, I tend to do it every year, but I will start off with the general goal for the year. Then I break it down into what I'm going to do monthly. Then I break it down to what I'm going to do weekly, and then what I'm going to do daily to achieve that ultimate goal.
All right. I don't know that you all need me here because I see between what you've said and the things in the chat, that's absolutely correct. Getting healthier is nice, but it's not specific enough to be a SMART goal. And before we move on to the next letter, if somebody joined not too long ago, please note that if you join after 6:15, you are welcome to stay, but you won't get credit for participating this evening. So again, feel free to stay with us, but you won't get credit. Okay. All right. Now we're going to continue to move forward. So we've got this goal right now. The goal is I want to get healthier. All right. Next slide, please. Because we're going to edit this goal. All right. So measurable is the part that allows you to track. You can't track anything without some kind of number, how much, how often, how many. That's how you know whether you've achieved the goal. If I say, like we just said, I want to get healthier, well, how will I even know if I've gotten healthier when I can't measure healthier just by the word healthier? You have to be able to measure a goal in order to achieve it. So your goal may be to read more books to the children. It may be to go on more field trips or to have more parent involvement activities. So in order to measure it, we have to have a number, a way to track our progress and to reevaluate along the way. I think it was Miss Brenda who said you start with this big time frame, then you break it down into month to week, etc. That's how we make it measurable. So if I said I'm going to get healthier, maybe I switch it to I'm going to exercise more. Now I can't just say more. I have to have an actual number. So if I set my goal for exercising twice a week, I have a number associated with exercising. It's the number 2 for twice a week. So now I can measure whether or not I'm achieving this goal. Okay. So we've talked about measurable. Now we're going to move on to attainable. And attainable means you're going to set realistic goals that are challenging but achievable. The key, I think, to this is challenging but achievable. Okay, if our healthy goal is to exercise, like we said, 2 times a week, if I change that to exercise 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, I don't know about you, but that's not going to work that's not achievable for me. So a goal like Miss Rose said 15 minutes of walking a day. If you don't do any walking, but you do 15 minutes to achieve a goal, that's an attainable amount. Exercising twice a week when you don't exercise at all now is an achievable goal. Sleeping 8 hours a night, I don't know how achievable that is, attainable it is for me. It should be, but yes, 8 hours is a reasonable request. If we put there that attainable is sleeping 16 hours a night, now you all run businesses. There's no way you have 16 free hours a night to sleep. So that's where the attainable is. You want it to be something you can get to, but not something that's so easy that it doesn't challenge. So like someone is saying, you start off with 15 and then you work your way up. That's that reevaluating. If I said I'm going to exercise 5 minutes a day, okay, that's not that hard to do for most people. So we don't want it to be that easy. We want it to be something that challenges. That's where the motivation comes in, when it's challenging. And goals are here to take you out of your comfort zone, to have you do something you're not already doing. So it needs to be something that's challenged, but you have to balance it. It needs to be easy enough for you to reach and stretch, but not so much that it's not possible for you to meet within the time frame. All right, so we said that we are going to, our goal is to exercise at least twice a week. So we have a goal that is probably attainable. The goal needs to be relevant as well. Next slide. Thank you, Vicki. You need to plan effectively with specific targets in mind. I could probably set goals for each one of you, but it doesn't matter what's relevant to me. It needs to be relevant to you. Your program is an individual program. Everybody's program is different. So make sure that you pick goals that are relevant to your program. When we work on this tip in a few moments, you want to make sure it's something that means something to you. There may be somebody on this call right now who already exercises way more than twice a week, or someone who doesn't think exercise is important. So that's not going to be relevant to that person. Okay. You at one point, you had a goal to be a part of Maryland Excels. You're the one who determines what relevancy that had to you. Is it because there was bonus money associated with it? That makes it relevant, and there's no judgment in that. It may have been that you wanted to accept children who were participants in the scholarship program, and in order to do that, you have to be in Maryland Excels. It may be that you wanted to have a high quality program and didn't want to have to do that on your own. You wanted some support. There are all kinds of reasons that you all are part of Maryland Excels, and those are all relevant to you. Okay, so I want you to think about, as we prepare to wrap this section up, think about what's relevant to you, why that thing matters as we work on goals. So that getting healthier is relevant to me because it's important to try to get and maintain a healthy lifestyle. All right, next one is time-based. A goal has to be something that has a deadline, something where you're monitoring progress and where you reevaluate. If I say I'm going to exercise twice a week, I'm never going to achieve that goal if I don't put an end date. And it doesn't mean that I won't keep going after the end date, but I have to give myself a time frame for reaching the goal. If it doesn't have a date connected to it, maybe I'm keep stealing your mom's idea, Jacqueline. It's just a wish. And then I don't think there's nearly as much motivation if you don't have an end, because then you don't have an achievement date, and then there's nothing to celebrate. So I'm going to set our initial goal, I'm going to say, for the next 2 months. All right, so there's a time, there's going to be a start date, and then within 2 months, I will do this exercising. All right, so if we think about the acronym as a whole, next slide, please, Ms. Vicki. We talked about all of these things. We talked about them being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. If we think about the simple goal we started with, we went from, I set a goal to live a healthier lifestyle. And that goal has now morphed into, I want to develop a healthier lifestyle by exercising twice a week for the next 2 months. Is that goal now a SMART goal? Yes, it is, because it's a specific goal. We can measure it. It's something that's attainable. It's relevant to my lifestyle, and it has a start and end date. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next part of our training, which is the program improvement plan. All right, we talked very briefly about this a few minutes ago, but one of the components of Maryland Excels is developing a program improvement plan. This is at ACR 3. And this is our way of supporting you with continuous quality improvement. So this might be informed by a class visit. If you've had a class visit, they're going to give you some feedback that you can develop some goals with. It may be the Maryland Excel self-assessment. So you took that self-assessment, and from that, I'm going to assume you didn't give yourself like high marks on everything. I do everything well. I don't need to improve. You probably gave yourself some areas where you need to improve. So your program improvement plan, or PIP, may be based on those. It may be based on accreditation standards. For anybody, is there anybody on the call in the accreditation process? Or you're in self-study or anything like that? Okay. Miss Brenda, all right. So you've set some goals. You're having to, Miss Pamela as well, you're having to set some goals associated with accreditation. School readiness goals and objectives. If you've got children in your program that will be leaving you to go to school, there's some goals and objectives for school readiness that you may incorporate in your program. You also may have program priorities, things that really matter to you in your program that you're going to use to help you establish your PIP. And in ACR 3, you're going to upload the program improvement plan, and then you will also upload a statement describing your process for developing a program improvement plan. So for those of you who haven't gotten to this stage yet, what we're doing tonight doesn't have to be, but can be part of that statement. You evaluated and assessed your program by looking at licensing standards, whatever it may be, and you set SMART goals to help you develop that plan. So this could be part of that process for you. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about SMART goals or in general about the process we just talked about? All righty. So now we're going to move on to the PIP itself. All right. So this was in that packet in the email I sent you. So if you have it in front of you, you can use that. Otherwise, when I stop talking to let you work on this, it'll be bigger on the screen for you. So we'll just keep it up so you can see. But this is a sample PIP. And we're going to use this sample PIP to help you develop goals, but that are SMART based. Okay, so if we look, for example, at the category, you're going to PIP, and the document I sent you had 2 pages, and you're going to use this to help you pick categories for your program that you want to work on. So for the first one, the category is the Maryland Excel self-assessment, communication and language area. So let's say you did the self-assessment and you were like, oh, I really need to improve on communication and language in my program. So for this provider, that was the category they chose. The goal they picked was teachers will talk with each infant while changing diapers. All right, so we can see this is specific. This is a very specific area of the self-assessment. The goal strategies, how are we going to achieve the goal? That's what the goal strategies is. For this person, it's posting examples of self-talk and open-ended questions by the changing table. Because maybe some teachers are like, well, what am I supposed to talk to a 4-month-old about at the changing table. And we all know the value of that one-on-one communication when you're in group care. This is an excellent time to talk one-on-one with children. Well, like I said, you may have a teacher who doesn't know how to do that. So if you post examples, there's something for them to talk about, whether it's the weather, the mobile above, the changing table, the process you're going through, circles, whatever it is you're going to choose to talk to them about. They're going to be examples at the changing table for that teacher or for you. Who's responsible for this goal? In this case, it's the director and the teachers, because there's a director, but there are also teachers who are doing this. For those of you who are family providers, you're going to be the one responsible for taking whatever steps are part of the goal strategy. Okay. You want to have a start date and an end date. Now, it doesn't mean if you don't achieve the goal by the date you set, you can't continue the goal. But just in general, you want to have a date that this starts and a date that it ends so that you can reevaluate and assess. You also need to think about what resources you need. For this particular example, they need chart paper, markers, tape, and sheet protectors. So those are the things that the materials they're going to need to achieve the goal of helping make sure teachers are talking to children during diaper changing. And then you're going to want to check your progress with some status updates or checkpoints. So in this case, the director is going to review, update, and replace the document at the end of each month. For example, if one of the things they put on the changing table is the weather, okay, if you know how many times a day you change a child, do you really want to talk about the weather every single day and that's the only thing you talk about? No, you want to change it up. So changing things around allows you to do things a little differently along the way. Okay, so that's just a review of that particular goal. You'll see there's 2 other categories. You can choose these categories if they work for you, or you can choose something else that you're working on for your program. But what you're going to do next is, and I promise you I'll stop talking so you can do this, but you're going to pick a category that's relevant to your program that's probably based on one of the Maryland Excel standards. Okay, you're going to establish a goal. You're going to talk to us about the strategies you're going to use to achieve that goal, who's responsible for that goal or helping you achieve that goal. And that could even be the families in your program. You're going to pick a start date and an end date. You're going to think about the resources you need. And sometimes resources are not materials. Sometimes resources are people. So your quality assurance specialist may be a resource. And then you're going to talk a little bit about how you're going to monitor your progress. Okay. I know that might have been a lot of information. Do you have any questions about the process of establishing a goal? I'm going to ask you to share one. You can do as many goals as you'd like. I'm going to give you about, I think we can do 15 minutes to do this. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So you're going to use the document that was sent to you and write this down on paper. You're not going to put this in the chat. And then when we stop, I'm going to randomly call. I always ask for volunteers first, but everyone should be prepared to share what they've come up with. Okay. And again, it can be a small goal. It can be a huge goal. It can be for you professionally. It can be for your program, but you just want to answer each of those questions. And it just has to be a different goal than we see on the sheet. Okay. So if you all are ready, I'm going to mute myself, but I will be here so that if you have questions, just put them in the chat rather than speaking them out loud so we don't interrupt people. So you have until 7:10 to work on this. Okay. All right. I'm going to be quiet now and I'm going to turn my camera off so I don't disturb you, but I'm here.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Please tell me how to say your first name again. I don't want to say it wrong.
That's okay. Lornia.
Okay, good. Miss Lorna, I'm going to switch over to my phone because my
Okay.
laptop is about to die.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You have 6 more minutes, just giving you a time check. Three more minutes. All right, it is 7:10, so we're going to get started again. I saw a message in the chat before we do about missing some of the discussion. If you joined us after 6:15, then you would not get credit for participating because you have to join by 6:15. If you joined, I know some people had connection problems. If you joined and got kicked out and joined again, you can just loop back in. But if you joined us after 6:15, you will not get credit. You are welcome to stay. We'd love to have you, but I just want you to be aware of that if you decide to stay on. Okay? All right, so now the fun part. I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to start by asking if anybody would like to volunteer to share that goal. And what we usually do is we listen in and I chime in, sometimes Vicky as well, with some feedback on the goals, but we welcome everybody to chime in with us. All right, is there anybody who'd like to volunteer before I start calling on people? All right, Miss Tina, go ahead and share your goal with us.
Well, I don't know if I've done it right, but
This is the way to find out.
for the category, I put sensory play. Would that be right?
Okay.
And for the goal, I want children to experience more of the sensory materials to play with. For the goal strategies, I would find different materials for Play-Doh, moon sand, swamp stuff, ice play, just different materials. I would be responsible. Start date September 20th, 2024 to September 20th, 2025. And I would need, for resources, I'd need large containers, sand, water, flour, seeds, beans, tapioca pearls, and anything else I could think of. And I would rotate this out weekly, a weekly new sensory bin. That's all I get.
I have myself muted so I don't make, because I'm over here going, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm absolutely listening. I'm just waiting till you're finished to share.
That's all I got.
Okay, that's good. So I think a couple of key things would be to click on, not click on, but on the program improvement plan, you see the standards as the first. Do you all hear an echo? I hear an echo in my voice and it's annoying me. Okay, good. The best thing to do is to click on the standards, and that way you can get a broader category to put your sensory things in.
Okay.
Okay. So there may be a category, and of course it's escaping me now, but it may be something associated with materials you use in the program. So look at those content areas to give you a broader category. I think you absolutely did the part about what materials you're going to need. You have a timeline, how you're going to use them. You may need to revisit some of the materials because they may be choking hazards, but I also don't know what age group you're doing this with. You may break this down into something for infants, etc. Okay.
Okay.
But yes, it's a very good starting point for your goal. All right. So you did a good job. Don't worry. Okay. Thank you for volunteering to be first. All right. And Miss Gail, it's because of more than one person on the mic. That's why I muted myself. Good job. All right, Miss Gail, you're raising your hand because you want to go next. Okay, I'm going to mute myself again. And you are muted.
I am muted.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. I put my school, my category is school readiness, language, and literacy. My goal is work at making my environment language rich with more samples of the words as well as pictures. So labeling and identifying and verbalize with each child. Goal strategies is to reset my room with all about theme, purposely making labels, more picture identifier books. I'm responsible. I have until September 3rd to set this up. And my resources I need to go on Teachers Pay Teachers and print some stuff, laminate some stuff, and look for examples and materials to make it text rich, accessible for the children. Like menus from restaurants and just different things that they can look at, pictures as well as words that are theme appropriate. And then the progress and checkpoints, I put check for quality of materials on a regular basis and then rotate specifically at the end of the theme.
Very good. Yeah, it's a great start. You might want to consider part of your checkpoints is looking at the children's interests. If they really are into the menus but not into the whatever, you may kind of make adjustments based on their interest level and your I know you said September something. I don't know if that was your start date or your end date. Okay, I'll let you come off mute.
I said had now because I'm not on that theme yet. And then I would have to have it ready to go for the All About Me, which is September 3rd.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now that makes more sense. And one other thing, you said teachers pay teachers?
Yes, it's a website I go on to print. They have like sets, I guess you would call them, or like you can get labels on there. You can get manipulatives. You can get little games, all paper that you print.
So you all hear that. Here's another resource. Okay.
Yes, it's so you're a member, and then you can print, or it may be. I think the last thing I purchased was $6, and it was a sort of like a checklist for assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Thank you.
I had not heard that. And also reminding you that Kaplan has a label maker in their system.
Yes.
That's also
I've used that as well. Yes.
All right. So for those, if you all are learning so much, you have 2 free resources as well as information from me and Vicki, because I'm going to give Vicki credit. She just sent me a text about the Kaplan. So thank you, Vicki. Okay. Thank you, Gail, for sharing yours with us. Does anybody else want to volunteer before I start?
I will volunteer.
All right, Miss Brenda.
So I chose one example. It's the class instructional support, promoting children's cognitive and language development. So I went to engaging children in more conversation. And hold on, I wrote it down 1 second. I just do a thing. So I didn't write it on a paper. But basically what I was going to do is I was going to do it through schemes, parallel speech, modeling the speech, was parallel talks, modeling the speech, asking the open-ended questions. And pretty much that's what I was going to use. Who was going to be responsible was going to be myself.
Okay.
The start date was going to be September 3rd. The end date was going to be January 2nd. Resources that I was going to need was in the investigative studies through creative curriculum. I was going to use anecdotal notes and also teaching strategies goal. So the progress and development checkpoints in teaching strategies goal, they have certain checkpoints. We have like 4 checkpoints a year. So I was going to use the checkpoints. I was going to use also the class. We have to do a class. I went to Aspire program. So we have to do a class. We have a class study every year. So is there anything I need to add?
No, I'm sorry. I was just listening.
Okay.
No, that is very good. It's specific. You have some great resources, and I love the way they connect. You've connected this one area to development assessments. You've got checkpoints, and you've got a lot of resources. For those of you who also use curriculum like this, you've got a lot of resources within that component to help you meet this goal. And I especially appreciated how you were looking at the individual checkpoints for each child.
Yes.
Versus this just being, this is what we're all going to do. You're going to be able to take this big category and make it specific for all of the children in your program.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Asmia, I'm sorry. I know I did that wrong again.
It's okay, Azemia.
And I said it in my head the other way. Okay,
It's
Azemia.
okay.
All right. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I wrote one down, but then I thought of another one. But
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know which one I
Well,
should
you
go with.
pick one. They're probably both good. You pick one you want to share.
Okay,
with
well,
us.
both of them are things that I have done with my kids. I just don't do it as often as I should. So I'm gonna go with this one because this one's my favorite. So we have journal entries, and we do them every week after snack. And this would be, I don't know if it's school. I feel like school readiness. I feel like language and literacy. And basically, the point of them is, so when I was in elementary school, every night for homework, we had a journal entry about whatever the topic or prompt was. Sometimes it was imaginatory, sometimes it was like critical thinking, it was whatever it was. That's just what the journal entry was. So that's kind of what I do with my school age kids. So every week after snack, 4:30 to 5:30, they have the students write in their journal books. They have a different prompt that's given to design to challenge them, make them think, and use their imagination. The only thing I have to work on is doing it a specific day of the week. Because normally it's every week, but then every week turns into kind of like twice a month because I don't do it. If I have like a week where they don't have school one of those days, well, then I'm like, oh, we'll just save it for next week where it's a full week. So I have to work on picking one day out of the week where they do it every week. And I feel like I'm missing something. Am I missing anything?
You've got the goal strategies. You are responsible, I guess.
Oh, and then the
date.
resources needed. So I got these books from Discount School Supplies. I have to get some more. So I will either go back to Discount School Supplies or go to Lakeshore to get some more of those. And is that it? Progress checkpoints.
Progress checkpoints. Yep.
I guess progress and checkpoints on updates. One thing I have seen is that they kind of get a kick out of coming up and reading the books rather than staying in their seats. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But they kind of like did that themselves where they just like voluntarily got up in front of the class and spoken to their books, which is a good thing too. So yeah.
Okay. Very good. What I really appreciate about this is, in the beginning we talked about continuous quality improvement.
Yeah.
And how this is a cycle and a circle.
Yeah.
This is something you used to do. You kind of stopped doing it as consistently and diligently. Right. But if you make it a goal with a specific, measurable content, then it's every Tuesday or whatever it may be. You're going to be much more likely to stick to it because it's not, we'll do it when we do it. Versus we're going to do it every Tuesday. So, all right. Great goal. And again, this is a great example for everyone about how something is a goal that you may have fallen off with, but you pick it back. And goals like that are even easier because you already have them. You're just revisiting them.
Right.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Now you all see there's a value in sharing this with others because you get some feedback. Do anybody else who like to go before? Because we're going to do this for a few more minutes. So I have time to call on people.
I'd like to go next.
That was Miss Louisa?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Well, I like to, since we work with different children from different countries. And in my program, I have children from Spanish speaking and African speaking and then others. So, introduce like the cultural background in my program with all the children. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to set up my classroom and what different languages, how to say, for example, since they're little, that, the basic, like good morning in Spanish and other languages as well. And put some on the wall, or with books and or pictures of what the word, that, for example, say in Spanish or others, hello, say hello. In Spanish, it's hola. In other words, will be, in French, bonjour, all stuff. And to my goal strategies will be, talk to parents to help me to, the how to say those words in their language, and introduce and put them on the and introduce them and put them on the wall, or and have something that children, so I can talk to them in children. I can tell them, this today we're gonna do Spanish, or tomorrow we're gonna do, having a strategy. Have each day we'll do something, some word different,
Okay.
and some language different. Then who will be responsible? That will be me and the parents. And I will ask the parents also to come to read a book in their language, and or something like that. And also, well, when I'm gonna start, I'll probably I'm gonna start. I'm planning this to this, but I'll start in September, and every it will change around. It won't be active. First will be like it's simple, like a hello, and then will be other, be changing around like weekly, different words.
Okay.
And my resources will be, books, pictures, introducing, for example, music in the different countries or stuff. And my progress will be, evaluating whether they're working on that, or what do I need to change. And what else? The updates, if I need to continue, what can I add more, or change, and it'll be a different type. For example, first will be simple, and there will be music type, maybe some, food, because children also bring their food from their country, just, for continue with their costume. So we'll be talking about food, all the stuff. So sort of, I'm still in the process how I'm gonna put that one in my program.
Okay. I was talking during your thing because I remembered you don't have your camera's not working, so I wanted to make sure you knew I was paying attention.
Right.
I think that this is a good goal. It may even fit into a category like communication and language.
Right.
I think that another resource you have is the parents,
Right.
in addition, because you're going to talk to them about the types of the language they speak and some of the words if you don't already know them.
Right.
And I love that this particular example falls into so many categories beyond what you started with, because it's also parent involvement. And for Maryland Excels, you have to have a certain number of parent involvement activities at certain levels. So when you talked about inviting parents in, that's a parent involvement
Right.
activity. So you could consider that as well. And this is a goal that involves more than you. And most of the time when you're a family provider, you're the person responsible, but your parents are going to be responsible for this too. And
Right.
I like the stretch. You go from a goal to start this, then you're going to move to different categories: food, music, etc. So very good. Thank you for sharing your goal with us.
Thank you.
All right. I felt like somebody else came off mute around the same time as Miss Louisa. But is there anybody else who'd like to share their goal? You sure we can give you some great feedback if you do? Okay. Oh, go ahead, whoever that was.
Sorry, that was me, Miss Lonya. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. Our nature preschool is part of a larger organization, and that organization has a staff handbook. But I noticed inside of the child care center standards, there's an administrative goal of making staff policies.
Mhm.
And it looks like to get to level 1 of Excels, you don't need a staff handbook. Probably just need to send out a family handbook. But anyway, my PIP says the category is admin 10.2 staff policies developed. So the goal is to create a nature preschool staff handbook. And I thought I might attain the goal by writing 1 chapter per month over the school year.
Mhm.
And the director is responsible for making that staff handbook. Our school year is 9 months from September through May. I have lots of examples of preschool handbooks from
Mhm.
places I've worked in the past and groups that I'm part of now. There are also really great books, about, handbook of nature preschool or like places to get ideas like that. And then I
Mhm.
thought to continually check up and get feedback, I could send the finished chapter for review at the end of each month to my direct supervisor and people like you at Maryland Excels who can help me read and rewrite.
Right. Okay. That's great goal, and I like the one. I think it was you, Miss Brenda, that talked about breaking things up. That's a huge goal. Developing a handbook is a huge process, whether it's a family handbook or a staff handbook. So I like the way you've broken it up by I'm going to do one category or chapter or subject per month, and then you're going to get the feedback. So this might be a long-term goal, but it's still a good one. And it's absolutely valuable to have a handbook of policies and procedures for staff. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I love the emoticon. Thank you for always chiming in with those.
No problem.
All right. Anybody else before we wrap it up? Okay, I do see in here that Miss Jacqueline put it in the chat that she too is working on a I guess it's, oh yes, the family the staff handbook. So you all might want to, if you're comfortable, put some contact information in the chat and maybe you can work together. There's so much value in talking to other providers to get support and guidance. So I'll let y'all do that if you choose to, but feel free to put your contact info in the chat.
Yeah, no,
All right.
absolutely. Sorry, I'm just going to chime in, and that's why I just messaged it because I didn't want to interrupt. I'd love to hear about Rose's nature program. I almost finished my staff handbook, but I'm stuck on admin 9 and 10. That was my part of my goals.
Okay.
I think I'm almost done.
All right. So there you go. You might get some feedback there. And like we said, you can always reach out, as Rose has already said she's going to do, to your quality assurance specialist to help you and to give guidance or give you some additional resources. All right. And Miss Pamela, I see that you put that you have a CDA and you're planning to retire within the next 5 to 10 years. Wonderful. So your goal is still a professional one because it's how to live out those last years in early childhood, or your goal might be what you're going to do next once you retire. All right, so thank you to everyone who has shared in the group activity. Now so we've talked about establishing goals. Now we want to talk about how you manage them as we wrap things up. You manage goals by setting them and doing touch points. Because goals are always going to be ongoing. You set one goal, then you set a new goal, you review that goal, and you kind of look at it on a regular basis. So is there anything else? What's going to happen next? That's why goals are ongoing. Once you achieve one, it's time for you to set a new one. Everybody should be working on or striving for something. It's important to check in on your goals and see how you're doing. We said we were going to do that exercise for 2 months. So maybe once a week we should check and see, hey, have I exercised on twice a week this week? Oh, well, it's Friday and I haven't exercised at all. So that means I got to exercise today or by Sunday. but just checking in to make sure that you see where you're going with your goals. It's important to revisit and rewrite. And I think a lot of you talked about that with your goals. You said, I'm going to start here, but as you do that, the part about checkpoints and status updates, that's how you know about rewriting and revising them. Sometimes a goal is just too big and you realize, okay, I've got to break this down into a smaller goal, or the timeline is too short or too long, or there's components of it. I often use this example. I'm sure many people had goals as we entered right before COVID hit. Most people in some aspect of their lives had to change their goals just because life as we knew it changed. So sometimes you do have to revisit and rewrite. And like I said before, after you've reached these goals, you've set new ones. We never stop growing, learning, etc. All right. And then really, really important thing is to celebrate your goals. It's a huge deal to achieve a goal, whether it's a 2-week goal or a 6-month goal. So make sure you celebrate on your own, celebrate with your families. Let them know you have this goal. Let them know when you've achieved it. When you move, I'm speaking it into existence. When you move from a 1 to a 2 and so on, let your families know. A lot of times families don't know as much about Maryland Excels as you do. So let them know that you moved up to a quality rating 2 and what that means and why that's to be celebrated. If you get any of these additional achievements, let them know about that. Put that badge in your window, but celebrate all of your successes. Okay. All right. I hear my nephew calling my name, the toddler, so just ignore it if you hear it. I saw it in the background. All right. Next slide, please, Miss Vicki. Okay, so what we're basically doing next, she might be stuck, is we're talking a little bit about what we covered. There it is. Okay, so we talked about what a goal is, how you define it, why it's important. For those of you I can see on camera, did we do that? Did we define it and talk about why goals matter and why they're important? Yes. We identified several different types of goals, 6 different types, and focused on the last 3. Did that. Did we demonstrate an understanding of how to create a SMART goal? So now everybody knows what a SMART goal is and how to create one, right? Okay, got some thumbs up. And we determined ways to assess and modify goals. So how you create one, look at whether or not it's working, assess it, and then modify it as necessary. All right, so we set some goals at the beginning of tonight, and we just recognize that we covered all of those goals. So next we have some resources that are available to you, to include the Maryland Excels website and the MSDE Early Childhood website. You can also go to your local resource and referral agency for help, as well as your quality assurance specialist. Okay, so does anybody have any final questions for us? All right, so a couple more things as we wrap up. In just a moment, we're going to give you the assessment and the evaluation. So don't leave early till you get those to complete. Remember, you have to pass the assessment in order to get credit and get a certificate for this training. But we also encourage you to do the evaluation because we really do value your feedback. We're going to put those items in the chat momentarily, but here's our contact information. If you need to reach either one of us, especially those of you who asked about achievement badges and the getting to a quality rating 2, I would suggest you email one of us about that so we can give you that support offline, because unfortunately we're not going to have any time to do that tonight.